So those very things, he pushed them out of his life. He pushed the pillars out of the way, and it killed the flesh. It killed Samson's flesh. And Samson killed more. In other words, he was more blessed. The blessing, once he finally got the picture, once he finally got the point that the flesh has to die, and the flesh died, the blessing that he had was greater in his death than it was throughout all his life. That's what that's talking about. He killed more of the Philistines in his death than he did throughout all his life. Another, he slew more of them. And so too in our lives, that as God, we put our hearts in a place to want to know more about Jesus and know of him and experience more of him and know the power of his resurrection, that is the power to change our lives, then too God will bestow the great blessing as we give him that, as we allow him to remove that out of our life. We begin to walk in obedience in what he has called us to do. That is to have a relationship with him. I'm not talking about some great religious work when I say called us to do. I'm talking about called us to obedience, called us to live with him every day, called us to communicate with him every day, to hear from him every day. Called to allow the Spirit of God to have influence in our lives. Really, it says that our lives are not our own. We have been bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body. Glorify God in your life. Only happens as you give it to him. But to know him, you have to have that desire. You have to have that overwhelming desire in your heart to want to experience more of Jesus. That's where the blessing comes from. You have that desire, then Jesus comes in and he has a relationship with you. The Spirit of God begins to lead you and guide you into all truth. And you begin to walk in all truth because you have a relationship with Jesus. You begin to walk in that which he shows you. You begin to allow him to change your life. That's where real blessing is. You want to be blessed. You want to have love, joy, peace, an abundance of love, joy, and peace in your life. It only comes that way. If you're a Christian, that's the only way it comes. Is to allow God to, through the Spirit of God, to come into your life to kill the flesh. There's no other way. You'll never be happy. The things of this life, the things of this world will never satisfy a Christian. You may put them in and substitute them for Jesus. You may substitute them, but you know, substitutes are terrible. Substitute eggs are terrible. They're nasty. They have a funny taste to them. They don't taste right. Well, so is a substitute joy. So is a substitute love. It has a nasty aftertaste to it. Substitute joy, substitute love, substitute everything you substitute for the pureness of the love of God, the purity of love, God's love, the purity of his joy, the purity of his peace. There is no aftertaste. There is no yickiness that comes in it as a result of it. It's pure. It doesn't have a funny taste to it. It's pure. It smells right, because substitute eggs have a funny smell about it. It smells right, it tastes right, it feels right. That's the love of God. Any other kind of love you substitute does not smell right, does not taste right. It has an effect on your life, and it doesn't bring about a purity of his love. It satisfies the flesh, but oh, there are consequences. For the wages of sin are death. For the wages of following after the Spirit, following after the flesh, there is a wage you reap. There is a result of that in your life. It has a bad taste. It smells bad. Looks bad. But thank God we can walk according to the Spirit of God. Thank God we can have the relationship. Do you know him? Does you know God? Are you one that just claims to know God? You don't have to. You can get on your knees today and cry out to Jesus. Say, Lord, I've claimed to know you, but my actions say otherwise. Make them one, Lord, today. Make what I say and what I do one. Make how I live my life and how I want to live my life in the resurrection power and life of Jesus Christ. Make them how I want to live my life in obedience. Make it one today. Make it so it's not just what I say, but it's what I do. I think we said that at some point. Parents say to their children, do what I say, don't do what I do. But we ought to be able to do what we say, and say what we do, and that is to live like Jesus. Amen? You can only do that. You must nurture that nurture is to think upon, is to meditate upon, is to cultivate this desire to want to know and experience more of Jesus today. It doesn't come naturally. It must be cultivated. You must be given into it. When the Spirit of God draws you, says to draw nigh to Him, and He will draw nigh to you. When the Spirit of God motivates you, works on you, leads you to draw nigh to Jesus, draw nigh to Him, you will experience that which He is trying to flame, trying to build in your life. Amen? Walk in obedience. To walk into obedience, you must have the relationship with Jesus. You must have this overwhelming desire to know more, not just about Him, but to know more. Know Him more. Amen? To know more of Him. To experience more. To know Him is to experience Him. Experience His love. Experience His joy, His peace. Amen? And all those other wonderful fruits of the Spirit. Evidence. Fruit is what? It's evidence. How do I know that this is an apple tree? Because it bears oranges? No, it bears apples, so I know it's an apple tree. That's all it is. What are the fruits of the Spirit? They're the evidences of the Spirit leading you. They're the evidences of, don't get hung up on the fruits of the Spirit. It's evidences of the Spirit in your life. Show me the evidences of the Spirit in your life today. Show me His evidence. Do we have to be a policeman or a CSI or a detective and go after the evidence today? We need to find the evidence of it. Can you find evidence of the relationship of Jesus Christ today in your life? Is there evidence of it? Show me the evidence. Or do we have evidence of the flesh's ruling? Flesh is, if you look at Galatians chapter 5, there's the works of this flesh, and there's the fruits, evidence of the Spirit. Evidence of the Spirit or evidence of the flesh. It's all black and white. There isn't no gray area. It's all black and white. It's either the flesh is working, there's evidence of the flesh working, or there's evidence of the Spirit of God working. Read Galatians 5. That's your homework for this week. The fruits of the Spirit, the evidences of the Spirit or the evidence of the flesh. How can you know? How do you get to the place where that only the evidence of the flesh, to get the evidence of the flesh, to get the evidence, of the Spirit working, is to give yourself to Jesus and His leading every day. Amen? Amen.